Hello everyone, welcome back to another video review. Today we're looking at a brand new WinApex ET8101 digital multimeter. As I said, this is a brand new multimeter that just came out this past summer. The ET8101 does boast quite a lot of features for quite a low price point. The meter itself was approximately $17 US, around $20 Canadian. And it shipped via Asia through a reseller on eBay. Now, as you can see here, in terms of a feature set, this is one of the website pictures. We have your basic off switch. After that, we go up to the voltage AC, and something kind of neat is that it also has the duty cycle in that selector. So you don't actually have to go back to your duty cycle and frequency to get that measurement. It is strictly there in the AC mode, which is kind of neat. Moving down the line, we have the voltage DC. Then we have our resistance, capacitance, diode, and continuity, which we will test. The capacitance mode, they are claiming 30 millifarad, and that is actually very, very good. Most new meters these days, we're lucky if we can get 10 millifarad. A lot of them don't even ship with anything close to 1,000 millifarad. So the fact that they're boasting 30 millifarad is fantastic. But as you'll see, ET8101 actually can do better than the claimed 30 millifarad, and we're going to test that out shortly. Moving down the line, we have our frequency duty cycle. We have the amps or current, AC/DC, our milliamps, microamps, and something else now we're seeing on the newer low-end meters, something called a test mode. What it is, it's like a live circuit testing feature. So if you want to see if you have a hot wire and you've got power in a circuit or in the wall, we'll take a quick look at that as well. Finally, we're down to the NCV, or the non-contact voltage detection. I think it's a bit of a gimmick, but it's there nonetheless. The meter does boast true RMS, once again, quite unique at this price point, although more and more meters now are coming out as true RMS in the very low price range. Something else about the meter that's kind of cool is the fact that it has a very nice display. It's 6,000 count, but the way they've implemented it, it's very crisp, very clear, and it just works. As I was mentioning about the display, they are also boasting that it has a screen cover. So the plastic housing or glass, whatever you want to call it, here surrounding the display is actually on top of an existing display to prevent scratches, dirt, what have you. But anyway, utilizing that as another selling feature. What do you get with the meter? Well, you get the leads and a small instruction manual, which I do not have with me at the moment. I do apologize, but that's okay. The leads themselves, they're pointy. They have a rating on them of 1,000 volts, Cat 3. We're going to try them out, and we'll see how good they are in terms of the continuity. The actual length of the wire is your typical standard lead length. They don't feel that bad, actually. Once again, in terms of being cheap leads, they're not nearly as bad as some of those cheap leads that you can get with new meters these days. Now, they're calling this a compact multimeter, and what does compact mean? Well, it can mean something different to everybody. If we put it up against a slightly used and abused Aneng 8008, you can see it is quite small. The housing is perhaps about 1/2 inch to 1 inch larger than the 8008, but it is still a relatively small meter. And in terms of the width, again, don't forget on the ET8101 we do have a boot, which I will just remove. And actually the boot is quite nice. If we take the boot off, you can see it's actually a little closer now to the Aneng in terms of the overall size. So the Aneng's got about 1/2 inch less height to it. And perhaps the WinApex is slightly larger. But that being said, they are both true RMS, 6,000 count, 10,000 count. But this one does have a lot of functionality. In terms of a standing bale or tilt stand, not bad. It doesn't flop around, doesn't go anywhere. Once again, the boot is quite nice. And to point out, if you can see on the boot, that you do have these cutouts here that aren't being utilized. That's because there's another model, the ET8102, which also has a flashlight as well. Now, that is not on this model, but that's okay. I really don't need another flashlight on the bench at this point. I'm quite content with the 8101. So we're going to start some tests right away, and this should be interesting. We're going to do a quick voltage comparison, and stay tuned. All right, so for the sake of this voltage comparison, I brought in a meter I've recently reviewed, the uni-t UT125C, an interesting, well-made small meter. Once again, compact, and as you can see, it's even smaller than that Aneng. So, yeah, I mean, these are all relatively small meters. That being said, they all seem to be quite capable. Now, the uni-t UT125C has no tilt stand, so I've had to prop it up, and we are now ready for action. Here we go. Taking the voltage up, 1.5 volts, 1.8 volts, showing 1.80 for the uni-t, 1.8 for the WinApex. Moving up down the line, 6.2 volts for the uni-t, 6.2 for the Apex. Up, up, and away we go to 10.5 volts, 10.53 for the 125C, 10.53 spot on for the 8101. Taking it up a notch even further, let's go up to 20 volts. 21 volts, 21.06. Neck and neck, here we go, up, up, and away. 27.6 volts, 27.66 for the uni-t UT125C, 27.67 for the ET8101. So pretty well they are identical, neck and neck. Let's max it out. 31.45 and 31.46 for the WinApex. So once again, in terms of voltage, they are pretty well identical. The chipsets, the ICs that are utilized in today's even cheap meters, as you can see, are very accurate and spot on in terms of voltage. Next is the continuity test, one of my favorites, and to begin with, I'm going to use the stock leads that the WinApex ships with. Here we go. So there is no visual indicator, it's strictly audible. And as you can tell with the default stock leads, it's pretty iffy, and I really have to press to get that happening. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put a set of probe masters on, but I am going to put on another cheap set. These cost me about $1.50, $2. Once again, online. And we'll try the continuity with this good pair of cheap test leads. Here we go. Wow, what a difference, eh? Now remember, these are not expensive leads, just a couple of bucks compared to the stock probes that this meter shipped with. I didn't do anything with these leads. I didn't sandpaper them down. I did nothing at all. And excellent. So you can still have good continuity with a good set of cheap leads. You don't have to put probe masters on to have good continuity. Now we're going to be testing something a little bit different here. I've got a Fluke digital multimeter demo board. And we're going to use this. I'll keep the good cheap leads on, and we're going to put it into resistance mode. So first thing we have here is a 0.55% resistor. .8, alrighty. Next up is a 20 mega ohm. I'm sorry, 22 mega ohm, 5% resistor. 22, spot on, and that was pretty fast. There was very little delay. Excellent. I'm impressed. Now we have an inductor here, which this meter cannot read, but let's switch to diode mode. Okay, and now we're in diode mode. And we will reverse the leads. And there's the forward voltage drop. Excellent. And while we're on the subject of diodes, let's bring out an army of them and let's test them. Starting with the red, here we go. And we have lights. 1.8 is the forward voltage drop. Let's go down to the yellow. Lights it up, no problem, 1.8, and we're still getting the forward voltage drop. Let's go down to the white. Lights that up as well, and there's the forward voltage drop. Now to blue. Look at that, 2.589 forward voltage drop. And finally the green. And the dimmest of the bunch, but it is lighting it up, and we are once again getting the forward voltage drop of 1.8 volts. Wow, surprising. This little WinApex actually was able to light up and indicate the forward voltage. Now this meter is claiming quite a large capacitance range. 30 millifarad, 30,000 microfarad to be exact. So we will see if that's true. I'm going to start with the Fluke demo board, and we have a very small 3.3 microfarad. .9, well within spec. And a very tiny capacitor. Try and keep this on camera for you. Spot on. Now we're going to move up. This is a 10 millifarad electrolytic. Let's see how the 8101 handles this guy. Okay, so it's thinking. I do like the fact that when this meter is measuring capacitance, it doesn't just leave you hanging. You do have an indicator. So there we are, 9.5. Excellent. Now, the meter does boast a 30 millifarad capacitance range, but I don't have anything in the 30 millifarad range. I do have this 47,000 millifarad capacitor, which is 17 millifarad or 17,000 microfarad larger than what they are stating it's capable of measuring. But hey, I like to live on the edge, and let's try. So here we go. This is rated at 30,000 millifarad. This is a 47,000 millifarad capacitor. Will it be able to measure it? Here we go. Wow, spot on. 42, 43 millifarad. I'm going to press the hold on that. Now I've brought out the Exelvan capacitor meter just to confirm. And yeah, look at that. 41.269 millifarad. Very, very close to the Apex, which had a reading of just over 42 millifarad. So good job. I was definitely not expecting that, and I am very, very impressed with the capacitance range on this meter. I wish I had a larger cap. I don't at the moment, but okay, so I brought in a standard power bar, and as you can see, no problem measuring. 122.7 is the AC voltage. Now, one of the neat features with this, as I said, we can click the select button, and there we go, 60 hertz. Click it again, 50% duty cycle. So we don't actually have to leave that AC range in order to get those frequency ranges. So that's very neat. Excellent. Something else that is rather a niche feature with the WinApex is the test feature mode. And what that means is you put into test, as I've done here, take out your lead, and you get this loud beep. And basically it's just saying that this is a live. Take it out once again. So if you're probing in a wall and you want to see if there's actually current coming, there you go. And since we're here, we'll put it onto the NCV non-contact voltage. So no probing required here. Just take the meter and put it close to a source, and if there is anything live, you get that audible detection. So the WinApex is powered by two AAA batteries, and you can see we have a milliamp draw of 1.55 milliamps. So lots of battery life. It's going to last you hundreds and hundreds. I'd say guesstimate around 600 hours at least. Another nice feature with Apex, if you do have to change the battery, as you can see, you've got a nice threaded insert here. So no crappy plastic housing. Open that up as many times as you want without fear of screwing things up. Something else worth mentioning on this meter is the fact that you have your auto shut off. It takes around 10 to 15 minutes and the meter will be terminated, after which time you'll have to turn it back on. Now there's a way to disable that. As you can see, it says APO right here. Simply when you turn the meter on, hold down on the yellow select button. You hear that 3 beeps, and as you can see, that APO or auto power off has now been disabled, so it will not turn off. And it's nice you have this functionality embedded into the meter. Something else I'll point out as well, you do have a rel feature on this meter. However, this only applies to the capacitance mode. If you're in resistance and you're trying to rel out your leads, it will not work. This only works in capacitance mode. Okay, so taking a look on the inside of the Apex, first we'll take a look on the right, and unfortunately there is no shielding. Here are the battery terminal connectors, and I really do like this idea a lot more than having those wires just hanging or protruding and loosely soldered into the board. So for a cheap multimeter, that's really, really nice to see. Now, if we take a look at the innards here we have our connectors. They are split, but the input housing is very, very well done. Once again, these are not going anywhere. If we look at I'll try and zoom in for you. So if we look at the soldering for those joints, it's very clean, no flux residue whatsoever. I like it. Now we do have one ceramic cap and one glass cap. And if I just pop that, that is for the 10 amp mode. Now it is these smaller style fuses, but at least it is a ceramic fuse. And on the milliamp mode, we do have the standard glass fuse. Something else that's worth mentioning is, and I'll have to get in really close. Here on the fuses, they actually have that little hinge barrel mechanism. So the fuse, if you drop the meter, what have you, or takes a jolt, that fuse isn't just going to pop out of its housing. It's actually going to help keep it in place. And you know, it's a little attention to detail like that on a cheap meter really impresses me. As well, the fuses themselves, they're not flopping. They're definitely in there nice and tight. This guy is not going anywhere. We do have one lonely PTC, if I can stop dropping this poor meter. Here we do have one lonely PTC at the top. Underneath we've got a current shunt, which I will put up on the screen. And here we have one capacitor. There's our speaker, crystal oscillator. It is a generic IC. Here are the this is the connectors that the battery housing pads go onto. But really on this side of the board, it's very, very clean, very, very sparse. Now I'm putting a picture up here, and if you look at that picture, you will see the actual range selector switch. It's very nice, gold-plated, very clean, and nicely done, nicely well made. So as you can see, the other side of the board, there's not much else to see, very sparse. There is no other forms of input protection other than this one lonely PTC, small current shunt, and these two fuses. So yeah, I don't think I'd be too excited about putting this on any sort of high current. But that being said, nice and clean inside. I don't see any issues using this for hobbyist reasons on the bench. And it is very nicely done. Coming up, my closing thoughts. Closing thoughts on the WinApex ET8101. Hey, I really like this cheapo multimeter. I wish that backlight stayed on a little longer. I wish it was always up to us to turn the backlight off. But that being said, it's a lot of bang for very little buck. The standard leads, they're nice, but replace them with another cheap set of good leads and you're good to go. Hey, it's true RMS, has the auto shut off, can measure a 47,000 millifarad capacitor, something that's pretty rare in any form of multimeter, never mind the cheap ones. It has the really nice frequency measuring in the AC mode. You do have your milliamp, your microamp. I mean, for an electronics hobbyist, I think this is a really nice multimeter. Yeah, in terms of input protection, it's obviously lacking, but that being said, at least they put in some fuses, and decent fuses at that. It's a nice little package. It feels good in the hand. It's well put together. Good looking meter. Hey, I like it. I'm giving the WinApex ET8101 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. Until the next time, keep on testing.